All right, we're going to get the start putting the TV back together. Here's that speaker board that I was showing you that's kind of warped. Goes right like that. I'm pretty sure I can drive these staples back down, and I may have to put just a real short screw or something over here to pull that down, but it should be okay. Alright, that fastened down okay. I ended up just putting a little short screw right here. Alright, speaker put in. So we'll get the chassis next, get it mounted. Chassis mounted back in. Need to do the front control panel, fasten it down, mount the tuner, and we're ready to put the picture tube on. I have the ring on the bottom of the picture tube housing. Paper divider goes in there next. Kind of separates the video cable from the rest of the cables. Okay, have that in, so pretty much ready to set the tube on the cabinet. I haven't put the front screen on yet. In fact, I haven't even tightened the two screws in the back screen, or the back cover, so I think I'll just set the tube in there for now. I'll hook everything up, make sure everything's working okay, and then we'll put the back cover and the front screen on. And here's the wires that connect to the chassis, the yoke plug, the CRT connections, and the high voltage. And then here's the video lead right here. So we'll get them plugged in. We'll turn the set on and make sure we're still okay. High voltage lead is connected. Now I'll put the rectifier tube in and connect to the cap and close it up. And I have the video cable plugged in right there, and then it routes down this piece of wood to put a new piece of tape or a cable tie just to hold it like that. But right now I'm just going to try it, make sure it works. I'm going to make some adjustments, and once I'm satisfied with how everything looks, then I'll go ahead and put the back cover and the front screen on. Well, as we've all experienced in restoring old TVs, sometimes things happen that you have to solve a problem. I was playing the set for probably 20 or 30 minutes, and all of a sudden I had no picture. Had a raster, but the tuner was not working. So I hooked the analyzer up, and I could get signal through the tuner with the analyzer, but signal was super strong coming out of it, and I think that's why it was kind of fooling me into thinking the tuner was okay. But it had a tuner problem, and luckily I had a SAMS on this, and these resistance measurements are very handy when troubleshooting sets. I noticed on the 5x8 mixer tube in the tuner, mixer oscillator, over here on pin 8 and pin 9, these readings were 0. Should have around 60,000 from the 260 volt source to pin 8, and about 48,000 on pin 9. Also had a really good schematic that came with the SAMs on this set. And if you'll look, here's a 260 B plus. Goes to a 47K 1 watt resistor onto the mixer oscillator tube. And that resistor is open. Measures 0. I cannot get any resistance readings at all through it, even on the highest scale on the meter. So that was a problem. Replaced that 47K resistor. Now I have my picture back. Tuner's working great. That resistor was kind of buried up in the middle of the tuner. Here's a new one I put in. As you can see, it's kind of hidden in there, but I was able to get it put in. So now I'm going to put the shield back on the tuner and get it mounted back in the set. It's got it hanging loose here now just to test it. So I'll get it. I'll probably play it for a little while first. And the set's playing here in the shop with no antenna hooked to the tuner. You can see there just the two leads hanging out. They're off of this RF modulator up here, it's blonder tongue. Channel 6, so tuner's really working like it's supposed to now. Looks good. Just going to let it play for a while and then we'll get the tuner mounted back in. While I'm letting the set play, this is that knob that was broken off. And what I've done, I found a knob with the same little knurls on the edge. And I've epoxied it to the end of where the broken part is. And also, while I'm working on this knob, finishing it up, I'm going to work on these decorative pieces, the arms that go on the side of the CRT housing. There's some pitting in them, of course. There always is. Well, most of the time always is, and a set this old. Just finished buffing the two arms, and while not perfect, they look better than they did. I could paint these and put some clear on it, but it just doesn't match that brass color no matter what kind of paint you try to use. So I'm gonna leave them like this. They're not that bad, and I think they'll be okay. Here's the front sealed after I did a little more buffing on it. Does still have some scratches in it, but the buffing made it look a lot more clear throughout when you're looking through it. So, and used the same compound I used on the arms and on the brass piece that I buffed earlier. Went around the base of the CRT housing. That's the number 1. Now I'm going to get some number 2, and I'll go back over at least go back over the front screen one more time with number 2. And that'll help a little more on the scratches maybe. I know some fellows have wet sanded this like you would a car, and then go back and buff it, but this is the first time I've dealt with the PREDICTA front housing, the front screen, so I'm kind of afraid to do too much. What I've done here hasn't hurt a thing, made it look better, so I'll probably stop after the number 2 buffing and we'll let it go with that. Here's that broken knob that I've repaired. it's not a perfect match there on the edge. Looks pretty good from the front. I will try to find some paint to touch that up. Maybe, hopefully I can get something close to the original color knob there and it won't look too obvious. But it turned out pretty well. At an angle there, it looks like it's just got a crack in it. And there it looks like it's a complete knob. So I think that'll work. After quite a bit of scrubbing, got the fine tuning knob looking really good. And I've polished the channel selector with some plastic polish. So it's looking pretty good. A little bit of the gold paint missing there on behind a couple of the numbers, but not too bad.
They're not New York City. I guess I'll have to.
Set's been playing a couple hours, so it's time to finish putting it together. Making good progress. Got everything hooked back up after putting the housing and the front screen on the picture tube. It's fastened down, ready to go. Do have to put the arms here on the side, but they're laying right over there, and the back. And it's still got a little work to do on this knob right here. First, I'm going to plug it up again. We'll make sure it works before I go any further.
You will access your benefits through your Medicare Part C plan for one low and oftentimes $0 monthly plan premium.
And that's with no antenna wire or anything hooked to this set. Just the two wires that run down each one of the boards here on the back. They're coupled in right here. That's all that's hooked up, so that tuner's really working well. Here's the set hooked up to a watt meter. It's drawing 157 watts. And if we look on the SAMs, 160 watts. And here's a final look at the set. Everything's back together. Works fine. As far as matching the wood, I think it looks pretty good. Pretty close match. Did put new brass plugs here on each arm. There's the back all fastened down. Rear CRT housing. Polished up really well. Looks good. And the picture tube is still holding well after that rejuvenation I did in the first video. Still pretty bright. There's more brightness even than what I have set at. And here's a last look at that knob I repaired. Sure, you can tell that it's been repaired, but I think it looks pretty good. Blends in okay. If you weren't really looking for it, I don't think you would notice it. So I hope you enjoyed watching the videos on this restoration. I had a great time doing this set, and had a surprise or two there at the end when the tuner quit on me. But we got that going and it's working great. There's a couple of more sitting over there just ready to be restored. We'll get to them too. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.